Ecuador is socially collapsing, but they also have just done something that the U.S. set the precedent for, the U.S. and Britain, which is going into another. And we just brought up how Israel bombed the Iranian embassy, which is against international law. The video here is the Mexican ambassador in Ecuador at the embassy running onto the street and trying to stop the Ecuadorian military from kidnapping the former VP of Ecuador, Jorge Glas, who was given asylum there. So I know it's a little confusing, but the former VP of Ecuador, they put out a thing for his arrest, a notice for his arrest. He went into the Mexican embassy for asylum. They reviewed his case and gave him asylum, which you'll recall Julian Assange was given asylum, ironically, in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for 7 years, 6 or 7 years. And ultimately, the reason Assange was arrested out of the Ecuadorian embassy was because the president of Ecuador changed to Lenin Moreno, who is a stooge, a puppet, was a puppet of the U.S. empire. Within days of allowing Britain to violate the Ecuadorian embassy and arrest Julian Assange, Ecuador was given $4 billion by the IMF. Well, what is that? Not only did the $4 billion come with the price tag of give us Julian Assange, it also came with the price tag of you have to create austerity. You have to crush your people and privatize your assets to pay us back the $4 billion and change. And Ecuador has gone on to do that. So the austerity, the neoliberal austerity has crushed Ecuador. Putting in these U.S. Puppet presidents has also crushed Ecuador. Anyway, all of that to say, here is the video of the Mexican official trying to stop this arrest. And they just tackle him there and throw him to the ground. And it's completely illegal under international law what they did to go into the Mexican embassy and arrest this VP. And here is more of the fallout. Mexico has cut diplomatic ties with Ecuador after the Jorge Glas arrest. Mexican President AMLO, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, said they had forcibly entered the embassy in a flagrant violation of international law. Glas took refuge in the embassy last December after Ecuador issued an arrest warrant against him for alleged corruption. Glas's lawyer said he was innocent. Glas served as Ecuador's vice president between 2013 and 2017. He was when the president in power was not a U.S. puppet. He was relieved of his duties because of mounting corruption allegations against him. Mexico said it had granted Glas political asylum after a thorough analysis of the situation, an action Ecuador viewed as illegal. Also, Glas had already served 6 years in prison and had served his time and been released. So he served 6 years and then got out of prison, and then they came up with new charges to try to arrest him again. That's when he went into the Mexican embassy this December. You're seeing the kind of the remnants of world law, world international law are collapsing. And so much of that is thanks to the U.S. empire. The U.S. empire, both with arresting Julian Assange out of the Ecuadorian embassy, bringing charges against Julian Assange, even though he's not an American citizen, even though he's a journalist, and even though he's never operated from America. The various U.S. strikes, including assassinating Iran's general Soleimani when Trump was in office, and all of the coups that the U.S. commits are breaking these international laws that have held up to some degree. International law, it's broken at times, but many ways it has held up. Respecting other countries' embassies has largely held up until the U.S. and UK broke that with the Ecuadorian embassy. Then they broke it again with the Venezuelan embassy in Washington, D.C. I was there during that, and many of my friends were those who occupied the Venezuelan embassy in order to try and protect it for the Venezuelan government. good friends like Kevin Zeese, Margaret Flowers, and others were in there trying to defend the Venezuelan embassy. Eleanor Goldfield was there as well for a bit. But anyway, and the U.S. just completely violated all that international law to just steal basically the Venezuelan embassy in Washington, D.C. So the U.S. and the U.K. have again and again said, look, violating international law is fine. It's just something we're cool with doing, and we'll do it as much as we want. And of course, this leads to others like Ecuador. And Ecuador probably spoke to the U.S. and said, do you endorse us violating this international law? U.S. probably said, sure, go for it. Why not?